What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Monsters of the Madhouse here at Chicago Sports Podcast. How's everybody doing today?
Feeling good, feeling good.
Doing well, doing well.
Good.
Doing good.
Well, today we want to discuss the free agent signings over the past few days. To me, this is one of the most exciting times of the year, and it kind of shows us how how the NFL has basically turned into a 12-month season. So, want to just go over the free agent signings. First of all, Brandon, how you doing today?
Good. How about you?
Good. Eric, you good?
I'm good, man.
Ryan, Tito.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
great. I'm
ready to
great.
roll.
All right, man. So first signing I wanted to go over was actually it wasn't exactly it was before the free agent period started. It was an extension of Jalen Johnson. Now, to me, this was probably the most important contract signing, if you will, that we're going to have this entire year. I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on of JJ Johnson's contract extension. Tito?
Yeah, I'll just be honest. I think Jalen Johnson, he didn't live up to all the hype that people were saying. I've been on this case a lot at Chicago Bears Central for a couple years now, but I have to be honest. This year, this past year he was terrific. I still think he left some interceptions on the table, but that's just being petty. He deserved the money. We deserve to have this guy on this team to help us win in the future. Hey, shout out to Jalen Johnson, bro.
Right. Brandon, what about you? What are your thoughts?
I think it's the best move the Bears have made thus far in free agency. I think not even allowing him to hit the market was important. I'm seeing a lot of free agency grades. The Bears are getting a lot of low C's, high D's. I think that's mainly based around adding talent and not retaining talent. I think retaining talent is the most important thing to do in free agency, especially for a quality player like Jalen. You saw Patrick Scales as well, guys like those. It's I know Jalen was kind of challenged before the year started by Flus and his staff to up the takeaways. I know he got 4 interceptions this year, and he made kind of a promise that he'd be All Pro. He finished second team All Pro, so like he earned it. Jalen earned it, and it's a piece that the Bears need to have. They're going to keep the momentum they've had on defense.
Right. Eric, what about you, man?
The biggest thing is this sends the message to the organization that if you go 100% of your effort, if you go 100% and you ball out, we're going to take care of you. And this is the second year in a row where this is a player that Ryan Poles inherited from Ryan Pace, cold commit last year, Jalen Johnson this year. And he extended them to a very big deal. And there are so many people that claim Jalen Johnson was going to be gone when he requested the trade at the trade deadline. He didn't go anywhere. And then the Bears, they did put the franchise tag, but only as an insurance policy because they had a deal basically hammered out. It's just the final details and put ink to paper. So this whole situation from Jalen, this proves to the organization that if you do well, if you give 100% of your effort, if you just be yourself and you go out there and you play ball, we're going to take care of every financial need you could ever ask. And that's a huge, huge message for such a young organization. Well, not in terms of franchise history, but in terms of the roster.
Right. Ryan, what about you?
Oh, I'm over the moon about it. Jalen Johnson's one of my favorite players. I was watching him on Free Agency Frenzy this morning. They were interviewing him. They asked him how he actually performed, and he said he thought he did pretty good. He said he left about 3 plays out there, like C-Dub was saying, that he felt like he said, I could do a little better, but it's not, a lot better. He goes, I played pretty good. It's pretty much what he asked for. He said Montez Sweat really helped him out as far as that goes. Getting that pass rush gave him less time to run their routes or whatever, and he was able to cover a little longer. As far as his hands and everything goes, he was working with Darnell Mooney in the offseason. Really helped him out. So I'm sure he's a little sore about him going to the Falcons. But I mean, to get a guy that's that genuine, talking about his abilities and stuff like that, knows where he is, able to go to another player to ask for help, and he's still that good. That dude deserves every bit of that contract. I mean, every bit of that money, he got. I mean, he's worth it.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of what Eric said, I don't think it could be understated how important the message it sends to the rest of the team. because if you work hard, if you perform, they're going to pay you. You don't have to worry about getting replaced by somebody else coming in. I think that just might be the most important part of that signing, other than his performance, of course. And then I want to move into Sunday. There was a signing, another signing before the free agent period officially started. And that was Kevin Byard, free safety. He signed for 2 years, 15 million. What are your thoughts on that, Brandon?
Yeah, I thought it was obviously a position of need considering they released their starting free safety in Eddie Jackson. I also think it is an improvement from Eddie Jackson. I do know that Byard had a down year last season, but I think with the talent he'll be surrounded by and Kyler Gordon, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Tyreek Stevenson, I think it's a system he'll learn quickly in. I think he's going to have a better year than he had last year.
Eric, what about you?
The big thing for Kevin Byard is he brings that veteran leadership to a very young secondary because Jalen Johnson, I mean, he's the second most experienced player in that secondary. He just signed his first big contract after finishing the rookie contract. Everybody else, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith, they're still on their respective rookie deals. And it's such a big deal to have experience at free safety. And then on top of that, he's going to still bring that playmaking ability Eddie Jackson's capable of, but he's also much more physical and better tackler than Eddie Jackson. What was the number one criticism we had with Eddie? And that was his tackling. And in Matty Eberflus's Tampa 2 defense, I mean, just all throughout the history of the existence of that defense, you have to have two safeties that you can depend on, not just to be sound in coverage, but to be very physical and to bring the ball carrier down in those events that the big plays slip right by you. So Kevin Byard, he's playing in a system similar to this before. Excellent football player. And just on a note, too, I mean, you can give Matt Patricia like the 1985 Chicago Bears defense, and he's still going to find a way to be dead last in scoring, yards, etc. I just felt that was such a bad overall coaching job. I mean, it wasn't even so much the scheme being the problem. Just Matt Patricia, when he took over for Sean Desai, he didn't know what he was doing, and he will never know what he's doing. So enough of Matt Patricia. I think Kevin Byard coming to Chicago, big time upgrade at a very, very reasonable price.
Right. What about you, Eric? Oh, I'm sorry, Brian.
Oh yeah, I actually like Kevin Byard. I liked him a lot for a long time. To be honest with you, though, I wanted Justin Simmons.
Yeah, me
Kevin
too.
Byard was probably about the third guy I would have picked on that. But he's got enough game. He's good for about 4 interceptions a year, which is pretty much all you can ask for, and he's a lot cheaper than the $18 million that they're going to have to pay Eddie Jackson. Not to knock Eddie Jackson, but too much, but his talent kind of left with that number 39, so we needed a replacement.
Right. Now we move on to Monday when the free agent period officially, the tampering period officially started, and I mean almost immediately we heard that the Bears, which kind of surprised me. I don't know how you guys felt about it. I knew we heard rumblings that they were going to possibly sign a free agent running back. I heard people talking maybe Saquon Barkley, um, but they ended up go ahead and grab DeAndre Swift, a 3 year, 24 million. C-Dub, what are your thoughts on DeAndre Swift?
DeAndre Swift, I love this pickup by the Chicago Bears. We finally got somebody, I don't want to say game breaking speed, but we got somebody that can probably hit a home run for the Bears now. When I look at Herbert and Roshan, I love him so much, but he just can't hit. He's just a battering ram. He can't take it the distance and all that. But you need different running backs for different occasions or different types of plays for the game. So this guy can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can pass block particularly well. He was 1,000-yard rusher last season, averaged 4.6 yards per carry. So I think he's an upgrade for the Chicago Bears. I think he beats the running. He better be the running back number one when the season starts. He better be.
Right. Brandon, what about you, man? What do you think?
Yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I mean, for a position we kind of all thought was devalued in the NFL. Swift was just the first domino to fall in terms of running backs in free agency. It seems like there's been a bit of a craze. I'm happy with the signing. I think the deal is fair. I think the Bears primarily wanted pass catching out of the backfield, and Swift's been a 40 plus reception guy his entire career. I
Right.
think that's. I think if their plan is to draft a rookie quarterback, it's good to have a player like that. It's another outlet. Check downs, obviously. But I do think he has that top end speed. I don't think he's going to, however, be the primary carrier. I don't think he'll be anywhere near 1,000 yards rushing. I still think you're going to see a good mix of Herbert, and I don't think the Bears have seen anything close to what they want to see from Roshan Johnson yet. So he'll get a lot of opportunity. But I do think on passing downs, you're going to see a lot of DeAndre Swift.
About you, Eric?
The big thing about DeAndre Swift, this is the type of back that Shane Waldron wanted back in Seattle. And when you look at the backs that Seattle had drafted, had basically developed, I mean, you look at who they picked up this last year. You had Chardonnay, who he was one of my absolute favorite football players, Zach Charbonnet. And when you look at DeAndre Swift, he's that exact type of explosive ball carrier that can take it the distance, coming out of the backfield as a receiver. And the number one thing to really realize, he makes any quarterback's life easier. He's going to bring that home run at any time mentality at running back. And there's going to be a little bit of a committee. I think Roscoe Johnson, contrary to what some may think, he's going to be shaped up for a pretty big role next year. And he's going to have the opportunity to get his big carries in. But with DeAndre Swift, it kind of also proved that all this rumbling and mumbo jumbo about, over to the top interest in Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs, it was just a bunch of fluff. And it never made sense to me. They'll be interested in the top money market for the running back. That's not who Ryan Poles is. That's not who Ian Cunningham is. That's not what they do in their respective franchises. And even it's not the least expensive contract for a running back, but it's also not the most expensive. It's kind of like right in the sweet spot in terms of how the Bears under Ryan Poles have valued running backs. And then I still wonder, why did the Detroit Lions give up on DeAndre Swift to begin with? He's only 25. He's 25, not a ton of mileage. I mean, this is a move that could really be a home run.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Brad?
Yeah. One thing I always remembered about DeAndre Swift was against the Bears, actually, in his rookie year, where he dropped that touchdown pass in the end zone, and the Bears still clinched that victory. So I still love him for that, but at the same time, now he's on my team. I don't want that to happen again. Yeah, but I think Mike Wilbon was on Waddle and Sylvie yesterday, and he was talking about DeAndre Swift, why they would pick him up and stuff like that. He pretty much thinks that it's because they're going to replace Fields' rushing yards. They said Fields has about 800 rushing yards. DeAndre Swift got 1,000. He believes Caleb Williams is going to get about 300. So that's why he thinks they picked him up. Justin Herbert, I really like him, but they were really concerned about his pass protection for a while. Apparently he missed a lot of blocks. But when he shows up, though, like he did against Washington, I mean, he really shows up.
You mean Khalil Herbert? Not Justin Herbert, Khalil Herbert?
Khalil Herbert, yeah, sorry.
One hits quarterback, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Chargers quarterback. Yeah, but Khalil Herbert, yeah, I mean, when he shows up, he really shows up. But it was a shame he actually got hurt in that game, too, because I feel like he was really catching his stride.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I really like Swift, though. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence, but I'm going to reach that point where I really love it, I think. I mean, he's got more love than hate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about what you guys feel, but I think one of the biggest things that the Bears offense was missing last year was a pass receiving running back out of the backfield. And I think, I might be wrong, but isn't that one of Swift's biggest things he does is catch passes out of one of his biggest strengths is a
Yes.
passing.
Mhm.
So, I
Yeah,
mean,
40 plus receptions.
yeah, for nothing else, I mean, I like that sort of timing. So, but moving on, the rest of the last couple of days, I don't know about you guys, man, but to me, it just feels like they signed a bunch of guys. I mean, you got Jonathan Owen, Gerald Everett. I mean, that might be a good signing. John Owens, a safety who is, by the way, married to Simone Biles, the
Yeah.
gymnast. So I
That's a
mean,
hard knocks hire, is what that is.
yeah, like,
we getting hard knocks. We're getting some balls in that
that,
stand. That's what happened.
that's like the Taylor Swift move. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I mean, was
Some
the
old
was
Miles
the
got
last
talent though.
hey, when was the last time we had a wife or a wag, a wife or girlfriend, whatever they call it, for the Bears? Was it like maybe Kristen Cavallari for
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Jay
Jay
yeah.
Cutler? You know
Cutler.
what I mean?
Jay Cutler, that was the last time
Right,
for sure.
right. So you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Out of the we got Brett Rippon today, the QB out of was it the Jets? Is that what I'm thinking?
No, no,
Actually,
no,
most
no,
recently
no.
the Rams.
Yeah.
Rams, okay, and then Matt Pryor, an offensive lineman. Sounds like just a bunch of depth pieces to me. I don't know. And I don't
Yes.
even know. I think a lot of us. I know. I mean, I know I was for sure was hoping for a bigger splash for the free agency. I know everyone I'm talking to kind of, but I don't know, man. They might just not be Cole's style. You know what I mean? I mean, I know I've heard him talk about he wants to do the draft, which I mean I think is smart. And then maybe he's thinking into the future too. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to spend all his money this year and then be in the cap problems in some of these younger guys are coming up. Is there anybody that sticks out on the other signings, C-Dub, the rest of the signings that you like, or you kind of hit
Uh,
and miss?
I got one guy that probably really can help the Bears is Gerald Everett. I like
Yeah,
him as a football player. That 12 personnel will look much better next season with this guy on the other side of the offensive line with Komet on the other.
yeah,
He's a pass catching. I'm not going down unless you tackle me. Football playing demon.
yeah. He's a tank, man.
He he destroyed the Bears last season when we played San Diego.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I like this kid. The rest of these guys are like, okay. It's
yeah.
just a okay. There's some pieces that can help the team or some depth pieces, but this kid right here might be a surprise right here in Gerald Everett though. He might be
I mean,
good.
were you expecting a bigger splash too, or do you think there might be a bigger splash coming later, or what do you think?
Come again, come again. I'm sorry.
Do you think that there's more signings possibly coming down the
Oh,
line? Maybe
oh yeah.
something that we might get excited about, or what?
Oh, to get excited about, maybe not.
Yeah,
Some more signings, probably yes. Maybe a veteran defensive end. I hear that DJ, I can't pronounce his name. It's
Wonum.
Woonum. They had a
yeah,
visit or something like a meeting or something.
yeah,
I don't think any splash. You can forget about Hunter. You can forget about all these guys. He already signed. He already
yeah, yeah.
signed to Texans, so forget about him anyway.
Right.
So I don't think any splashes. We waiting for the draft.
What about you, Brandon? Any guys that stick out to you that they signed that we might not think is going to be a good signing, but might make an impact?
Well, I think they all could. I think it's got this last day or two has Ryan Poles written all over it. Bargain signings, depth signings. I agree with C-Dub. Gerald Everett is actually second on his team last season with yards after catch at 5.3. Seems like
Yes.
Ryan Poles. It seems like the Bears often want to run a two tight end set, and they usually sign somebody that's running on one leg. Jimmy Graham,
Yes.
Mercedes Lewis. I like that they got a little younger there. Cole Kmet could use the help. And again,
Yes.
I think they are leaning towards drafting a rookie quarterback, and I think rookie quarterbacks love the middle of the field. They don't like throwing outside the numbers. They're not comfortable with it. And you get a guy like Everett, a big body target, that makes a rookie quarterback a little more comfortable. But I also think Owens is a great signing too. I think Richard Hightower was licking his chops when they made that deal. The Bears need help on special teams too.
Yeah.
And Jaquan Brisker had some issues with concussions last year. So they've got some depth now at the safety position. I think that's going to help them a lot. And I think they just signed another swing guard with Larry Borum being on his last year of his rookie contract. So like just a lot of depth. I don't expect any splash signings. I do think the Bears intend on drafting Caleb Williams, and if you're going to do that, this is you gotta kind of look at your expectations for this upcoming season. Are you going all in on a rookie quarterback on the year that a rookie quarterback's going to play his first season? Probably not. It's the sophomore year I'd expect them to kind of do the splash signings. I would expect the following free agency, the 2025 free agency, you'll probably see some Daniil Hunters, Christian Wilkins, guys like those. I do expect Ryan Poles to make a couple more bargain signings. I would personally love to see Jadeveon Clowney in a Bears uniform
Oh,
alongside Sweat.
I'll,
But
yes.
we still got a lot of time before free agency though.
Right. Eric, what about you, man? Anything that sticks out to you, or you're pretty plugged in? Anything any predictions about future free agent signings?
Well, I mean, I got to be honest with you guys. I mean, it's knowing Ryan Poles and his method. First and foremost, it wasn't like he didn't try to go and get some big free agents. In fact, they were involved with no fewer than 4 of the big names. I mean, they were involved with Leonard Williams, Daniel Hunter. They also acquired about Gabe Davis, who went to the Jaguars. And there's one other player that just came off the top of my head, but they've inquired about all these different players. Oh, Christian Wilkins. It wasn't like they didn't try to sign these guys. It was just Ryan Poles has this MO. The very second that dollar value gets above a certain threshold, he's out. And the big thing, too, is that there's still a lot of time left between now and the draft. Because I got to be also completely honest here, a majority of the moves that the Bears have made so far doesn't really line up logically with taking a rookie quarterback. The only one that really makes sense for me is, DeAndre Swift. But with Gerald Everett, he's a nice weapon to have it. And Shane Waldron, let's not mistake him, he loves his 12 personnel. And that's a big piece for that offense, is having Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett on the field at the same time. But when you look at the other addition they made too, Ryan Bates, who is right now the starting center for the Bears, they traded for before free agency even began. That's a very inexperienced guy. And you don't really have that plan A at center quite yet. So it just kind of raises all sorts of questions what the rest of this offseason is going to look like. But again, with the cuts that are going to happen, there are a lot of things that can happen. And knowing Ryan Poles, he kind of makes these big splashy moves at least expected time. I mean, look at the trade deadline. We thought the Bears were going to sit pat on their hands. They went out and get Montez Sweat. So we got to be patient about this. There's a lot of cap space for them to spend. It's just they're kind of like really picking their moment as to when to make that money.
Right. Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, I really want a speed guy. I mean, I'm looking at. I don't think they're going to go Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to demand too much money. That's not Ryan's Pohl style. But I'd like somebody similar, wavelength as that. Just a little speed guy, because I anticipate they're going to draft a wide receiver somewhat high in the draft. Whether it's, even the third pick, not the third round pick, I should say. You're probably looking at somebody like Xavier Leggett or somebody like that. But I would hopefully, since two teams like the Titans just signed Calvin Ridley, you got Atlanta that just signed Darnell Mooney to secure up all their spots, all their wide receivers. Hopefully, Neighbors or Odunze falls to us or something like that at 9. I think that's probably the only way that he doesn't trade that pick back. But I still think they're going to need a speed guy. Neighbors fill that void, but Odunze don't have them wheels. He's physical. He's not speed like Neighbors is. So I would really just want a Hollywood Brown-esque kind of guy.
Yeah, that kind of leads me. C-Dub, I don't know how much more time you got left with us, but first of all, thank you for coming on, man.
Oh, no problem, man. You guys awesome, man. No problem.
But what I wanted to ask all you guys is, are there any receivers in the either free agency that's still out there, or maybe in the draft that you really like?
Oh yeah, I like Marvin Harrison Jr.
I think everybody does.
Amen to that one.
Like,
You know what I'm saying? I like Mike Williams from the Chargers. I think he's available now. Maybe I don't know if you want to take a chance on Mike Williams. He is a little bit injury prone. But I love him as a receiver. He's a big time receiver to me. I like him. Every time I watch him, he's making a big play. Do you want to take a chance on Michael Thomas? Do you still think he got something in the tank? I think no, but he might. He was an exceptional receiver. He's one of the top 5 receivers when he was really on. He was one of the top 5. So maybe he can bring it back. But I don't know I think you go in the draft and you get Marvin Harrison Jr. You got to do it. You got to.
What about you, Brandon? Man, I don't think there'd be anybody that would be mad about Marvin Harrison Jr. That's for sure.
Yep.
Brandon, what about you, man?
a name I keep looking for, hoping the Bears meet with is Tyler Boyd before Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were added to that roster. Tyler Boyd was the clear number one on that team. I think he'd slide right into a number 3 position on the Bears. I think you'd get him at a cheap deal. He's getting a little older. He's probably on the bottom side. Um, I know they're in talks. I read earlier today. I don't know if it's just a rumor. I believe they're in talks with Curtis Samuel. I think he had over 600 yards last year. So again, probably somebody's going to slide into that number 3 spot. I do think the Bears are going to take a wide receiver with that number 9 pick. If they can get Neighbors or Odunze, they might even trade up to get a receiver there. I think if they can't obtain one of those 2 players in the draft, they'll probably trade back, see if maybe they can get an extra pick or 2, and take another receiver a little later in the first or high second. This draft class is not just loaded with quarterbacks; it's loaded with wide receivers.
Yeah.
I mean, if the Bears can't get the guy they want in the top 10, there's no need for them to panic. There's plenty of options in this draft. But I do think you're going to see another signing in free agency. I think you're going to see a wide receiver signing. Like C-Dub said, Mike Williams would be great. I know he's got health risks, but a big body like that is something the Bears don't have. Be something.
He hurt a lot. Is he hurt a lot or no? I'm sorry, Ben. Is he hurt a lot, Mike Williams, or no?
Yeah, he's had some.
Yes.
Yeah, he's had a history of injury issues. I think last year was the first major injury. But the Bears just don't have a guy that size. It would be helpful to put across from. I kind of accents DJ Moore pretty well. I think Mike Williams is like 6'4" or something.
He's 6'4".
So I wouldn't mind seeing that. But I think to me Tyler Boyd is the guy I'd like to see in Chicago.
It's like a wide receiver 3 or even a wide receiver 2.
I think Boyd would play the role as a wide receiver 3, just as he did in Cincinnati, and he did a phenomenal job.
Yeah,
and I think a rookie will immediately slide into the wide receiver 2 slot. And
Absolutely.
if they're good enough, to be honest, maybe even wide receiver 1.
Yeah, right.
Wait a minute, Brandon. Wait a minute, Brandon. That was this. I got a Brandon. Come on, Brandon.
Right in there, right?
I don't think they're going after Marvin Harrison, but you don't think if Marvin Harrison was on the Bears, he might possibly be better than DJ Moore?
No way. No way. No.
Hey, well, I'm going to lose this podcast, guys. We'll be here for 3 hours talking about this.
He's going to get open a lot, though, being that number 2.
Yes.
Hey, Eric, what about you, man? Who do you like? I mean,
all right. So Curtis Samuel. I think they're going to double dip pretty substantially in free agency and the draft. Curtis Samuel, he's someone I've heard is an option. He's basically been, third fiddle in Washington for the last few years, and he's a very good third option. Security blanket, a real good yak, yards after catch kind of target. The draft, of course. I mean, if you do not like Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm going to sincerely challenge your football logic. I'm going to ask you all. I'm just being real, but here is the scenario I want to throw out to you guys. Chris Beatty, current Bears wide receivers coach, used to coach the Chargers receivers last year. Mike Williams was released as a free agent. Now they have a decision to make on Keenan Allen. And do I think it's a foregone conclusion that something happens to Keenan Allen? No. But knowing that their cap situation is pretty tight, and then the historic year at wide receiver. I mean, this is a teardown year for the Chargers. They have Justin Herbert. They have Jim Harbaugh, but it's a teardown year. You have to really think if there is even that slight chance that Keenan Allen is made available, you just have to imagine Chris Beatty's going to just kick the door open to Ryan Poles' office and said, give me that guy right now.
Well, Eric, one second, man. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that this is a little bit of history, maybe. We got 100 viewers in the chat right now. So I just want to thank all the viewers. And if you don't mind, go over to our YouTube, hit that like button, subscribe, and we love you guys. Thanks a lot. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Eric.
You're good, man. So if he becomes available, I think that's, again, the moment Ryan Poles kind of waiting for. They also, Hunter Renfrow got cut. He's a decent option as a third receiver as well. And at some point, and they have to sign a veteran receiver anyways, because right now all they have is DJ Moore, who is clearly number one wide receiver. Let's not get that wrong. If you're to get a Marvin Harrison Jr., he'd be 1B. So you have like a 1A and a 1B, which is not a bad thing. It's actually what you kind of need in today's NFL. But you have DJ Moore, probably a rookie, which I think they're going to pick. somewhere between 1 and 9. And then you're going to have someone like Curtis Samuel, maybe Tyler Boyd, maybe Hunter Renfrow coming in from the slot. And yeah, it's going to be a whole different makeover at wide receiver this year because they need size, they need explosion. That's what Chris Beatty wants. That's what Ryan Pohl wants. That's what Shane Waldron wants because all those guys have been around big X wide receivers.
Yes.
It's going to happen, and I won't be surprised if they double dip.
Yeah,
There's a report earlier today that said the Chargers would have to release one player between Bosa, Mack, Allen, and Williams, and it said the player who was safe was Keenan Allen. So that kind of what I read earlier, it kind of contradicts that. But
yeah, I mean it's up to them, but we'll have to wait and see. Mike Williams, good option as is. You just got to sit back and watch.
Yeah, I think if we could get him at a good price, at our price, I mean, why not? You know what I mean? I mean, I think we almost have to double dip on the receivers at this point, don't we?
Yeah, at this point,
they need 2 quality receivers.
Yeah. So Brian, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. They definitely need 2. Because Tyler Scott, I mean, he's proven to be inconsistent in the hands. He seems to later on in the year though getting open. What's that?
Yeah.
Later on in the year he seemed like he was getting open, but every time he hit him in the hands, he just drop it. I don't know if he's just trying too hard or what. But he definitely needs to invest in a jugs machine in the offseason. Don't get me started on Velus Jones. But Curtis Samuel would be a nice pick.
No.
There you go.
One running back, I'm fine, but receiver just.
Oh my God.
I really love Xavier Leggett from. Dude's a massive beast. I mean, it gives me serious DK vibes. And he don't run like that, but he's strong. I mean, he's just a massive, imposing outside presence is what that guy is. I would love somebody like that if he falls to us in the 3rd, or you have to trade up in the 2nd. But he's not going 1st round. And he said everybody loves Marvin Harrison Jr. That's the dream. If you have to trade up next year, the 9 and next year's 1st, go get that guy. But yeah. That's the 2 sure things in football is Marvin Harrison Jr. is loved by everyone, and Seahawks should have ran the ball. But,
yeah, they should have ran the ball.
He definitely should have ran the ball. There's a couple of guys in the 2nd round, but I really just don't think that we're going to move up to get them. Dunze Coleman, he's nice if you want to trade back. Thomas from LSU.
What about Brendan Rice? Maybe in the 3rd.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's Jerry Rice is very critical of his son too. He really wants him to work on his feet instead of. He said he's a lot more physical than he played, and he was kind of get away from the guy. This guy's trying, his son's trying to go through him. It's kind of the way he described him at the Senior Bowl. So I mean, you can't hate a guy with that kind of pedigree to begin with.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask something about Rice too. His son, Jerry Rice told his son, "Look, be your own man. Don't try to be like me. I want you to be your own man. And same thing, Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison's like, look, you are my son. You are going to be your own player." And they have great bloodlines. I don't think I've ever seen so much blue pedigree bloodlines in one draft class together.
That's right.
It makes me feel old saying that because I'm like, I remember watching those 2 players. I remember watching their dads. Now I get to watch their sons. That just blows my mind.
I'm just glad I don't remember them getting drafted.
his kid's slightly bigger than him too.
Yeah, I think both of them are, aren't they?
They're
both of them are bigger.
Than their
Both of
respective
them.
Yes.
Marvin Harrison, at least like 6'4", isn't he?
He's 6'4", and he's
I
like
think he's 6'3".
I think he's like about 10 to 15 pounds heavier than his dad ever was too. He is a freaking like tank.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. I just want to take a minute to thank our friends over at Bridges Scoreboard in Northwest Indiana, one of our great sponsors. If you guys are in the Northwest Indiana area, go ahead and check them out. And moving on, a little something I wanted to discuss. Let's play make believe here, okay? Let's say if the Bears were to trade Justin Fields, at this point, what would you be happy with as far as the return? C-Dub?
You want me to go first? Or you waiting for everybody
Please,
else?
let's go. Go first.
Go ahead. Eric, go
All
ahead.
right. So in the make believe universe, I shouldn't say make believe universe. I'm just saying in a universe where they make the decision, it's time to part ways, and I have to maintain my professionalism and say, hey, it's the Chicago Bears no matter what. So that's the
Yes.
bottom line. But what I would be happy with is, say, at this point, a day 3 pick this year and then a conditional pick next year, where if at the very worst, it will be a day 3 pick as a conditional pick. But at the best, say Justin Fields goes to a situation and the starting quarterback goes down, so they miss significant time. Justin Fields goes out, has himself a great resurrection season.
Yeah.
That conditional pick goes up to like a second round pick.
Yeah.
That is something I would be happy with, is, something for this year and then something that can be really good for the next year too, because quarterbacks, they're never going to be cheap, and you can get some sort of value with them in a trade. If it makes sense to both you and the player, go ahead and make that move.
Okay.
What
All
about
right.
you, man? I see you
Okay.
shaking your head over
Okay. Because I agree with Eric. I want Justin Fields to be the quarterback, but also I'm a Chicago Bears fan. If Caleb's here, I'm a root for Caleb. If we're gonna get rid of Justin Fields, I'm gonna hold it high. I'm sorry, I don't care. Give me a second round and something for next year. That's it. Cause you're gonna get a great player if he come to your team. You're not gonna try to cheat us out of talent, bro. You're gonna have to pay. That's what I think. I'm not Ryan Poles, but that's what I think we should give up for Justin Fields. Sorry.
No, don't apologize. Don't apologize. I understand it's too
He's
late.
fantastic, dude.
Brandon, what about you, man?
Um, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, no pun intended. You're not going to get a lot for
Go ahead.
Justin Fields because if a team would have to trade draft capital for a 1-year rental, I don't see a whole lot of draft capital, and B, you'd have to trade draft capital and give the guy $26 million. I think the best trade scenario for Justin Fields that the Bears might face is a package deal during the draft. I still think that might be their best chance to move him. If they can take the number 9 pick, Justin Fields, package it up, and move a little higher in the draft, because I do think they want one of those 3 receivers. If they could work something like that out, I think their options are more and more limited every passing day. But like I said, to give up draft capital and $26 million before May 2nd, or give up draft capital and for a guy you're going to have on your roster for 1 year, it just seems very unlikely to me. Um, Justin, like I said, I think the Bears had a chance to move it. I don't know. I reading reports saying nobody was interested, but I think that's the Bears' way of shining positive light on the fact that they really weren't moving the engines. So yeah, I think we might have to wait till just prior to the draft or during the draft itself to see something happen there.
Yeah, I think it might be. I think we might see something right before the second round. That's just if it's gonna happen. I have a feeling that's probably when it's gonna happen. What about you, Bryce?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the draft sale too. I 100% believe. I mean, I'm wholeheartedly believe they're taking Caleb Williams. To me, I don't see it any other way. They're just doing it. Um, but I kind of agree. Maybe to move up a couple picks or something like that. Say you're in the second round and you want 3 spots up. You're going to get something just to save face at this point. I really think they boogered it up, and now that they're just spinning their wheels. I mean, I really don't see anybody since Indianapolis signed Joe Flacco today. Seattle, maybe they don't have a backup yet. At this point in his career, I really don't think he's better than Geno Smith. I mean, that's hard to say because Geno Smith didn't turn it on until 3 years.
Look at C-Dub.
Yeah, he's just not. I mean, Geno Smith throws for 3,800 yards every year, and Justin Fields hadn't even hit 3.
You got to face the
I
music,
mean,
guys. He's going to be a backup, I think, somewhere.
he's definitely
Oh
going to
my
be a
goodness.
backup, and I just assume you're going to get whatever you get when you got to save face somehow.
If
But
you
they're
get
not
on
going to
another
do
team
anything.
that can
But if
maybe,
it gets to that point where they have to decide on that 5th-year option, they might end up doing that. If it gets to that point, gets outside the draft, and you hit May, You know, I mean, they might just have to cut him if they want to actually do what's right by Justin Fields.
So I was thinking a little bit more about that ninth pick. You guys think that we hear everybody talk about the first round pick. What are they going to do with the first round pick? Are they going to trade down? What about that ninth pick in the first round? Think there's a possibility that we might be able to do something with that?
Oh yeah. Um, you mean trade it? Nah.
Yeah. Then they might trade it down or trade up to try to maybe move up to get a
Uh,
receiver.
I think that I know because I think they're gonna trade down from the number one pick. So I think they'll be using that for an offensive lineman. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Wouldn't hate that. Brandon, what about you, man?
I
Uh,
think they'll I think they'll draft Caleb at one. Everything's pointing that way by every major source and measure. But I think that ninth overall pick they have receiver written all over it. And I think if they want to be aggressive, they want a Doomsday, they want a Neighbors. I don't think Harrison's gonna like if they want a Harrison, maybe you think you're gonna have to get aggressive. You're gonna have to use that ninth pick, package it, trade up. Other than if they can't get one of those three guys, Neighbors, Odunze, Marvin Harrison, I truly believe they will trade that pick back to get a latter first round pick and a second round pick. Maybe take a receiver with that second round pick and go get your guy at center, Powers Johnson, with that latter first round pick.
Real quick, guys, before I get to you, Eric, I want to thank all the people in the comments. Casey Barker, I see you, man. Stanley Ramirez, thanks. Cheryl. Who else we got? We got a lot of people here. Abby Tuttle, thanks for watching. We appreciate you guys. We love when you guys interact with us. And Eric, what do you think, man? Are they going to stay put in at 9? You think there's a strong possibility they trade up or trade down, or what are you thinking?
Here's the thing. I'm thinking that there's so much time between now and the pro day for Caleb, now and the draft, that just today we got reports the New York Giants are exploring trades up in the top 3. And I can guarantee you that Washington Commanders are not going to be one of those 3 teams.
Or New England.
So you look
Well,
at the
that
situation.
was the worst kept secret at the combine was the Giants that wanted up in the top 3, but the top 3 weren't willing to move. That's what they were. I feel like they're always reporting that.
And then today we had an update to that saying the Giants, they're going to make teams say no. And the same thing, Washington Commanders, they're going to make the Bears say no to that first overall pick. So I really can't tell you what they're going to do because there's still so much time and there are potential offers already on the table where Ryan Poles, he's literally going to look at everything. All right, I've got Justin, I've got Caleb, I've got XYZ offer from these teams. This could very well leave up into draft day itself. So if they stay at 1, that's it. They're taking the quarterback. If they decide to move off from that pick, which that'll be the best way to recoup all these draft capital they've spent on players like Montez Sweat and others.
Yes.
If they decide to take that Godfather offer from the Washington Commanders, then I think it opens up the opportunity to get Marvin Harrison Jr. at 2, or maybe they even tried to do a double play like they tried last year. They go from 1 to 2, 2 to 4, or 1 to 2, 2 to 6. With the not the Washington Giants. So they're going to trade one of those 2 first-round picks in my prediction. One of those 2 is going to be traded because you just look at only 5 draft picks, 2 in the first round, 1 in the third round, I think in a 4th or 2 fourth round, that's it. They're going to recoup draft picks one way or the other. So I think whichever one they don't trade, they use on either a quarterback or wide receiver. If they do trade from 1 to 2, they go wide receiver, then edge, or defensive end. I hate saying edge, by the way, but
yeah, I don't like it either.
I'm a stickler for that. Defensive end, outside linebacker. Get it right.
Defensive end.
Defensive end, outside linebacker. Get it right.
Yeah,
so I think in my personal favorite scenario, they trade down from 1, go to 2. They get Marvin Harrison Jr., and then at 9th overall, if he's on the board, Dallas Turner.
We got Rosilla. What's up, man?
Hey, what y'all on here lying about, fellas?
What's up, man?
We're just talking dudes, man.
I heard earlier about Gerald Everett. I was trying to log in. I have a little difficulty. I'm not the most computer savvy guy, so I had to call my wife. But Gerald Everett, I like him, a glorified wide receiver. But that'll cause a mismatch problem, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.3 yards after contact.
So we've been talking draft, man. any signings so far that stand out to you, or what anything you like, or just what are your general thoughts about this free agent signing period altogether?
Bro, this King Henry, man. I don't if Lamar's ever gonna get it done, this is his chance. But I
Yeah,
said during the season, I never bet on Lamar.
yeah.
I never bet against Mahomes, but I never bet on Lamar. But maybe this
What do you
year with Henry, maybe.
What do you think about the Bears? Their signings? Anything
Uh, well,
you like?
I think
Anything you like? Anything you hate? Or what you got?
I'm not a big Swift guy. I know some of you guys. I'm not a big Swift guy. I think he's injury prone. I would have preferred Jacobs. Uh, of course, anybody wanted Saquon, right? But I'm not a
Right,
big Swift guy. But I'm wishing him the best, of course, because now he's a Bear, so got to cheer for him.
right. Okay. Let's see. We got a couple more people in the comments. We got Prophet Jaeger Bomb saying they need to trade down to get Jackson Powers in the second. Well, that's actually a good thought. What do you guys think of Jackson Powers? C-Dub, you know much about him? The center.
Oh man, I watch a little college. I'm not gonna lie to you. My guys clue me in on the some of the best
I know
players, and they
Trax
say
is. I
that.
know Trax is a big fan.
Oh yeah. Powers is supposed to be that guy at the center position. I know the Bears sent like 8 representatives out there to Oregon
Yeah,
to watch the team, but I think they was out there to watch Powers. To tell you the truth, you better not be out there watching Knicks. Ain't nobody. Don't even play with us.
don't worry, they're
But
taking Williams. So
but but wouldn't it fit though? Even with
yeah,
either quarterback, Caleb
yeah,
Williams or
yeah,
Justin Fields, with a
yeah.
nice young center that you can
Oh
grow up with, and be a key piece with that offensive line. Our offensive line is sort of young if you take away
yeah,
Nate Davis,
yeah.
But yeah, I like
I love
Powers.
it. I love it, man. Brandon, what
Mhm.
do you got? Thoughts on Powers, man?
I think he's great. I think he's hands down the best center in the draft. And I think after the Senior Bowl, he just kind of climbed the boards. So I don't see him making it to the second round. I think he will fall somewhere between 20 to 28 in the draft.
Yeah,
I know people were blown away watching him. Apparently, he didn't lose a single snap in practice or in game at the Senior Bowl. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a position the Bears have been very much
Oh
in need
yes,
of. The
yes.
projects that over the last couple of years have all failed pretty miserably, I think. And I think especially if you're going to have a rookie quarterback, a guy like, because I know Powers also has the IQ, and a center is heavily responsible for identifying pressure.
Right.
So it'd be good to see somebody who can help a rookie quarterback figure that out.
but what about you, Eric? What do you know about Jackson Powers?
Jackson Powers is that dude, man. Dude, trying to keep it brief, but if they can find a way to move back and still take Jackson Powers just a wee bit later, you got to do it. It's just, you saw him standing next to Chris Morgan. The dude is a mountain of a center. He's like one of the biggest centers I have ever seen. 6'5", 330. Or was it
That's a
6'4",
big center.
330?
That's a big
He's
center.
humongous.
Yes.
And he is every bit nasty as his athletic. So, yeah, that's my guy right there at center. You've got to find a way to make it happen if you can.
Right. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love him too. I mean, it's hard not to love. I mean, you watch him, I mean, playing Oregon and all that stuff. I mean, the dude's just solid. I mean, there's nothing that's, he can't do. Um, I'm a little concerned about how many representatives they sent. I don't know if
Yes.
they're just the world's biggest smoke screen or what, and just praying on
Due
that.
diligence.
Right, doing their due diligence. But
C-Dub's
with
right
that
about Knicks.
going there, I mean, I really don't think it. I mean, I remember they did that with Deshaun Watson. They sent all their players to Deshaun Watson, and they draft Trubisky. It's like, well, come on, But it was a different little regime there. But that's my only concern because I was really hoping for Powers Johnson. I really like him, but they're going to have to trade back or up, and they don't have the capital to trade up. So I mean, they're going to have to trade back or trade a player. I mean, but he would be great. I mean, that's the ideal fit for anybody in the draft.
Ro, what about you, man? You know anything about Jackson Powers, the center out of Oregon, right? He's out of Oregon?
Oregon, yep.
Oregon, yeah.
The Duck.
What do you know about him, Roselle? You got any thoughts on him? Do you know anything
Yeah.
about him?
Yeah, I've seen him and I like it, but I'm gonna tell you what scares me is having, for all intents and purposes, let's say they take Caleb Williams. So you want to have a rookie center and a rookie quarterback. I think that screams trouble. I've always been one the veteran center that can make the line calls.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Well,
my thing.
I mean, there's a possibility that Bates might be, a bridge starter. But from my understanding, I don't know, you guys can tell me differently, but it sounds like Pace has had his eyes set on Bates for a while now. So
Oh,
I have a feeling he may be the starter at least for this year.
yeah,
Anybody else have
yeah.
thoughts on it? CW, what do you think?
Oh, and now I like that logic right there, but I would take it like this. If you was to draft Caleb Williams, I wouldn't be mad at having Mr. Bates as a bridge into
Yeah,
Powers. But if
Right,
you keep Justin Fields, you might as
yeah,
well put Powers out there for sure.
right.
right.
Absolutely.
Brandon, what about you, man? What do you think about Bates? You think he's their starter?
Um, I, well, I think if you drafted Powers Johnson, no, I don't think Bates would be the starter. I think there's been just a few examples of rookie quarterbacks and rookie centers, and Olin Kreutz was actually asked about it, and he said it's not impossible, but like Marshall referred to earlier, I mean, you got to have a guy who knows how to how to read it. You got to have a guy that absolutely knows how to read pressure, because if you don't, you're asking for disaster for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Eric?
I really think that if the plan is for Caleb to be the guy at quarterback, you will want to have a more seasoned starter at center. Again, it's not impossible, like Olin Kreutz mentioned, but it's very unlikely.
Yes.
And it's unrealistic to expect success, especially now where in 2024, football is a lot more complicated, and you want a center that understands the whole game. If you're going to have a rookie, especially the first overall pick under center, you want to make sure he's protected as much as possible. So I just, again, like I said a little bit earlier in the show, the pairing of an inexperienced center with a first overall pick of quarterback just logically does not make ideal sense. So we'll just have to wait and see. But is Ryan Bates the starter right now? Yes. Is he
Yeah,
the starter
he
come August?
I don't see
Yes.
Kramer any snaps.
Yeah, and like if he is he the starter come August with say some late additions like an Evan Brown, maybe we'll see.
We'll see.
What about
Yeah,
you,
I mean,
Rob?
I agree. I mean, I think right now Bates is a starter. But I do believe if they draft a center, especially one of the caliber of Powers Johnson, I think they're going to let him play it out. If Powers Johnson ends up beating him in training camp, he beats him in training camp. I mean, you don't have that continuity with the offensive line throughout the whole camp. But I think they just drafted Bates because he could play any position on that line, or
Yes.
Yeah.
traded for Bates. I mean, because they could. I mean, he's got the length to play tackle. I mean, he can play center, even though he hasn't played a whole lot. But his best position's at guard. And then they just got that other guy, gapping his name right now from San Francisco, but they just signed him on a 1-year deal. He plays anywhere but center. So I think they penciled in Bates right now. I mean, if they end up lucky enough to get Powers, then they're going to get, then I think they'll play it out in training camp.
Yeah. I mean, well, listen, let's be real, man. I mean, we don't have a high bar to overcome with our centers, so the Bates is snapped, and I think we're all right. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Yes.
sad but true. Well, I'll play as devil's advocate here, I guess. Is there any possibility that we come to training with Fields and Williams or another quarterback?
Ain't
Right?
I think if you do that, somebody should go to jail because it won't be fair. It won't be fair for Caleb
Ryan
Williams
Poles.
or Justin Fields. Somebody that's not good. That will not work
Oh
at
my
all.
gosh.
You want to see a circus? You want to see a circus? It will be a
Right.
circus all season. So no
Yeah.
way. No way.
Could you imagine that? I mean, just that what it is now. Could you imagine that?
Can
Going
I
into-
one more quote? And
Yeah, yeah.
the Bears might do what's that show on HBO? Hard Knocks.
Hard
Could
Knocks?
you imagine?
Dude,
I don't want
Oh
to.
my goodness.
I don't want to see that.
I
No.
do not want to see that, dude.
they
No.
would force them to do Hard Knocks if that happened.
They
You're right.
would
You're right.
force
They
them.
force them. Yeah.
And I know they don't want to do it. I mean, I don't know what they got. Like they'll never get picked, it seems. Like I don't know what the McCaskies got pictures of somebody over there. And that's what
Well, there's only 2 teams that can do it now, right?
yeah, there's
Yep.
2 or 3
Them
left.
and
Those are
Denver.
the last things to do it. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But Brandon, what do you think, man? Is there any possibility they hit camp with both of them?
I think it's highly unlikely. I think Ryan Poles can do whatever he wants to do at the end of the day, no matter what anybody says about it. But I don't think it would be a good idea. I don't like C-Dub
No,
said. I mean, just think about
no.
think about the headlines you'd read.
Oh my goodness.
It'd be 2 bears. You know what I mean, to read something like that. But no, I don't think I said this on Monday. I don't think to have a guy like Fields who's clearly won most of the locker room over, to have him there, if you're going to bring in a rookie, you're just asking for disaster. I mean, you're going to have the locker room
He
torn.
has no
Players
chance.
can sometimes get ahead of their coaches, you know. And then you got Caleb Williams, as confident as he is. If you're going to draft him, you wouldn't want him being afraid to make mistakes because, you know, somebody else is breathing down his neck. I think the only way a quarterback succeeds is if he's willing to fail.
Can you imagine after Caleb's first interception, they'd be chanting to Fields? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Oh,
you know, a Bears fan. Yeah, after his
There's
first
no
bad
way.
throw.
There's no way. We'd be setting them up for failure right away. Or whoever would be a rookie quarterback, and if he did start. Eric, what do you think, man? I mean, is there any possibility that you think that can happen?
Talking about keeping Fields and the quarterback or getting rid of both?
No, keeping Fields and a new quarterback.
It's a very slim chance. I will say there was a situation like that before. It actually did work out pretty well, where you had the Chargers. They had Drew Brees coming off injury, and he basically stood there for 1 more year. But they also took originally Eli Manning, but then they flipped him for Philip Rivers in a 1, and then Philip Rivers sat on the bench. And that situation turned out to be just fine. And then years before that, you had the Bengals with Bruce Gwiatkowski. He was the veteran starter quarterback. They drafted Carson Palmer at 3. I think that was in 2002 or 3. And it worked out fine. Is it ideal? No. Is it likely? Probably not. So I'd give it like a 10% chance of happening at best. But
Okay.
I think it's one or the other, realistically.
Eric,
Right.
it was no social media back then.
I was
There was
gonna
no
say
social
that.
media.
I was gonna say that.
But it worked on the field. That was the big thing. It
Yeah.
worked. It translated on the field. That's the big one.
Yes.
What about you, Brian? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I do remember Alex Smith being there when they drafted Mahomes on a playoff run. you know that happened, but it's Alex Smith, you know.
Yeah.
But they asked Jalen Johnson that this morning, and he said he thinks Fields can handle it, but he don't know about a rookie coming in, you know, with that Fields, you know, overlooking him and stuff like that. They said it really just depends on how the rookie's going to take it. I really think it's a very, very bad idea, though. Even though Fields' contract is very friendly to do that on. Was he getting paid like $6 million this year by the Bears or something like that? $2 million by any other team, you know, if he goes. But yeah, if you draft a rookie, I can't imagine they're going to put that cloud over his head. You know, it's just not fair to that rookie.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask
Yeah,
you guys
go
a
ahead,
question?
man. Go ahead.
Let's just hypothetically say that happens. Do you let him compete for the starting job? Do you give it to
100%.
Justin or do you give it to Caleb?
No, it's all about whoever plays the best.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I really think that Caleb's going to win. I mean, I think Caleb's better. But, I mean, if he proves that Fields is better, then Fields needs to start.
I think by every measure, Caleb Williams is going to come in as a pro-ready quarterback. Will be considered one of them. He's a week 1 guy, a week 1 starter. But I think if you brought a quarterback, if you brought Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels or Drake May, and you did retain Justin Fields, you're putting yourself in a position where you allow a rookie to sit on a bench behind a veteran starter. And it seems the history is written that it seems like that always works out. I mean, at least the Packers know how to do it. So at least have that option.
Yeah.
The way I go about it is this: if the Bears do this, where they keep Fields, draft Caleb, you wait it out, you see how they perform in the beginning at training camp, and then if Caleb said or Jaden or Drake come in and they show they're ready, then you let the competition play itself out, and you don't want to be in a position where you're forced to like make somebody ready if they're not. And that is something that it would afford the Bears the opportunity. Like, well, if Caleb, Drake, or Jaden are not ready yet, they're not ready. You just sit. We'll have Justin for one more year. And that was the thinking with the Chargers too when they did it all those years ago. Is there was no rush for Philip Rivers to hit the field. You have Drew Brees, so it was.
Bledsoe Brady.
It's a weird situation for sure, but
Right.
let's see.
Brian, you got any final thoughts, man? Or
No, I just don't see a way that they're not drafting Caleb Williams. I mean, that's just my thing. I 100% believe that they're on board for that. They're with them trying to get him in before free agency started. To me, that was the final, nail on the head or nail in the coffin. I think it was just over at that point. He's just waiting on the physical. So just because he didn't do his medicals at the combine, I think that's really the holding everything up. I mean, he had every right not to do so. I'm not holding that against him. I don't think Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jaden Daniels did their medicals either. So, I mean, you can't fault him for that. If you ain't going to draft me, you ain't get my medicals.
Right.
Rodney, about you, man? You think there's
Just a couple of little quick thoughts. I know who would love for both of those guys to be on the team. That's the media. They would love it. They would love to show.
Fans would hate
chopping
it.
at the bit.
Well, it would be the first time in history when Caleb messed up, and all the fans would be in unison. Put Justin in there.
Yeah.
But also, my last thought on that is, I'm a big believer in. I think Eric said earlier about the Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees thing, but Brees coming off injury, so that's probably part of the reason. But I think you need that veteran quarterback that's going to be able to help that rookie quarterback. And I don't know if Justin is that teacher type to where he's done enough to be able to show him, unless he watches him and says, well, this is what I'm not going to do.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on that.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. See, where can everyone find you at, man? Where can our viewers find you?
Oh, thank you guys. Before that, I wanted to say thank you so much. I appreciate everybody that's on the
Thank you,
panel.
man.
Oh, thanks for being
Thanks for coming.
Chicago Bears Central on all social media platforms. Also, you can find me on Shy Bulls Podcast as well, and the Chi-Town Sports Network. So
Awesome,
thank you
man.
guys. You guys are all awesome, bro. I enjoyed myself.
It was an honor to have you. Eric, what about you? Where can people find you?
You can find me at Winning City Gridiron. You can also find me in that very long last name you see in the little panel right at the very bottom, right about there. You can find me on X and Twitter. And then you can also find me back on this podcast show too.
All right, man. Well, thanks, guys. A great night. And we'll see you guys around every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. We got shows on Mondays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. We had a blast, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.